Have you found yourself having to pay for assessments, or maybe you are having to fork out savings to make legal documents such as an EHCP enforceable? There are extra costs when nurturing a young person or a child living with autism or ADHD, for example, costs that others may not need to take into consideration. Trying to support a child with an individual difference or need who does not have access to the assistance that they need in order to have a fair chance to succeed in their learning is an uphill struggle. Hence the reason why many parents acquire these hidden costs. Legislation suggests that a local authority in England must exercise its functions with a view to securing the integration of education, health and social care provisions, where it thinks that this would promote the well-being of a child or a young person who has special educational needs or a disability, or improve the quality of special educational needs. Yet many of us parents, including myself, have taken those matters into our own hands. Why are parents having to pay for special educational needs services when every child apparently has a right to a fair education? So in this video, I'm going to delve into the 10 hidden costs that parents pay out of pocket for. I would look into the reasons why this would be, and then discuss whether paying out of pocket provides your child with an equal chance to succeed. My name is Brenda and I'm a parent mentor and a fellow parent. I support parents raising children with individual needs and differences to stay empowered whilst they're navigating through procedural challenges. So let's look at those 10 hidden expenses. So the first expense is therapeutic support. Speech and language therapists work directly with children and their families and other educational professionals to develop personalised strategies to support a child's individual needs. Occupational therapists help children gain or regain the skills needed to perform the activities needed for everyday life, including sensory skills like making eye contact, gross motor skills, catching and throwing a ball, fine motor skills like using scissors, and self-help skills like dressing. Children with special educational needs are entitled to support throughout their education. This is to ensure that their individual needs and differences have a fair chance to succeed. So if a child's needs are overlooked or unrecognised, despite advocating for your child, this leaves a child at a disadvantage. When assessments, reports, reviews or programmes are required for a child to engage in their learning, and when this is not considered, it is not possible to identify when they will access therapy. To argue or to plead in favour for this to be acknowledged can leave many of us feeling unheard and stuck as to what to do. Therefore, leaving parents to pay for therapeutic support with their own money rather than allowing for their child to struggle without the support that they need. Now, the second hidden expense is when a child is out of school. There is a cohort of children and young people that are not engaging in school. Perhaps their abilities to regulate their feelings and actions have not been acknowledged, and as a result, they don't feel psychological or emotionally safe to go into school. Protecting a child's overall well-being, parents will cover the costs that come with educating their child whilst their child is out of school or waiting for an agreement that will allow their child to re-engage back into school. And the third hidden cost is an educational psychologist. Educational psychologists support schools and the local authority to improve all children's experiences of learning. Psychologists apply their psychological skills and knowledge to carry out statutory and non-statutory work relating to the SEN Code of Practice and the psychological aspects of learning a child's development, social, emotional and mental health and behaviour. I have personally found collaborating with my son's educational psychologist helpful. However, in situations involving tribunals, costs associated with the acquisitions of private reports may be the best option. And the fourth hidden cost comes with seeking a diagnosis. Despite legislation suggesting otherwise, the real life experience of parents advocating for their children's needs to be recognised requires a diagnosis before support can be provided. In my experience, I had spent lengths of time trying to acquire a diagnosis for PDA, pathological demand avoidance, and I've spoke about that in this video here. So when attempting to provide feedback or suggestions about how my son would function to support his EHCP or provide some feedback at an annual review, there were times when my feedback was overlooked. Having a diagnosis supports an understanding that will hopefully enable teachers to feel open to assisting a child living with an individual differences. But when a child's needs are overlooked or deemed as something else, such as bad behaviour, it creates difficulties in a child engaging or accessing an education, therefore leaving parents to set out to seek a private diagnosis. The fifth hidden cost that parents may wish to incur is for tuition centres. When I felt that my son was lagging behind in his education, during a time on his journey, the school stated that they were unable to meet his need. Therefore, paying for my son to attend a tuition centre is something that I chose to do. Tuition centres can be an option to enable a child to thrive in their education and beyond, and leave them less prone to becoming a statistic. The sixth hidden cost that parents may incur is alternative remedies or holistic therapies. My son has comorbidities, so he has autism, ADHD and other medical conditions. The system as a whole collaborates with health services, yet there are other practices and remedies that help a child's development and growth. And these are available for parents to explore as well as the traditional services. These alternative therapies or remedies are designed to foster a greater sense of self-awareness for a child, for them to better understand their connections between their mind, body and relationships, and how these elements play into their mental health. I personally utilise these approaches alongside the traditional health services, and I have definitely experienced some positive outcomes for my son's development. Now, a seventh hidden cost could be activities. Special interests can provide comfort and structure, helping individuals to make sense of their surroundings. And this can be prominent in children living with autism or other neurodiverse conditions, because not one size fits all. In other words, some specific interests don't fall into the traditional activities. Traditional settings may overlook or just not provide these activities that support a child's special interest. Therefore, paying for activities that are not on the curriculum to nurture and allow a child to make sense of the surroundings may require an additional cost. Now, the eighth hidden cost is legal assistance. This cost is incurred in terms of those parents looking to follow the path of going to tribunal. The Special Educational Needs Development Tribunal is a first-tier tribunal which provides appeals against local authorities' decisions about a special educational needs of a child. Parents who face procedural changes that go down this route may incur costs acquired with third-party support, predominantly solicitors, lawyers and witnesses at the tribunal hearing. And the ninth possible hidden cost could be paying for an advocate or a consultant. Navigating procedural challenges is no mean feat. Having to attend annual review meetings and in some cases social services statutory meetings such as a child protection conference or a child in need meeting requires feeling empowered to deal with any challenges that come up in real time. Where there's good practice would be where a child has an advocate to represent their views, feelings and wishes. But in most cases during those meetings there is no representation for a parent, leaving parents to hire a possible independent advocate or a consultant if other statutory services aren't available on request. And the 10th hidden cost is transport. Due to differences in special educational needs provision between different geographical areas, this can have an impact on the ability for a child to get the school that best meets their needs. As assistance with transport is assessed on a needs basis from a local authority, some parents may find themselves unable to attain or bring about by discussion the need for their child to access transport that would allow them to attend school. This may mean that they find themselves having to incur the costs. So in my experience on my son's journey of special educational needs, he had been fortunate to have transport available to him, but there were moments where this was not possible. I found myself having to negotiate the option of transport being funded for him to attend a school that was many, many miles away from where we lived. And I might share these experiences in another video, so let me know if this is something that you would be interested in. So, does paying out of pocket provide your child with an equal chance to succeed? So these 10 examples highlight examples where stepping in to pay for these provisions and services may need to be the case. It can be difficult to understand the costs associated with assessments. However, this situation can be true for some parents and not for others. Or in my case, during some parts of my son's educational journey and not so much in other parts. Despite articles and legislations expressing how every child has the right to an education and the local authority supports a child who has special educational needs or a disability, forking out for provisions and services will allow a child to have an equal chance to succeed and buffer the impact that comes with not having a child's needs acknowledged. So is it necessary to fork out savings? Only you as a parent would know what your financial situation is. I understand that it's an ideal way to get better outcomes for your child long term or feel better about the situation. There's no right or wrong or reasons to justify why a parent should or should not pay out of pocket for provisions or services. It's all nuanced. So if you're having to fork out money for your child's educational provision, I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please share in the comment section below. So if you're dealing with SEN challenges whilst at school, why not take a look at this playlist or look at my website. For now, continue what you're doing, stay focused, stay empowered and keep creating progress. Thank you for listening.